Three texts have been read for us. The Old Testament reading was from Jeremiah chapter 2, verses 4 to 13. Then we had the New Testament readings from Hebrews chapter 13 and Luke chapter 14, verse 1 and 7 to 14. The Jeremiah text is set before the Babylonian exile, a warning to the people of Judah, the southern kingdom. Hebrews, the letter to the Hebrews, is a reminder on what it means to lead a life of grace. And then in the gospel reading, Jesus teaches that we should not look for honor, shouldn't push ourselves to prominence. From broken cisterns to overflowing love, overflowing grace. Jeremiah uses a powerful image of a broken cistern to describe the life of the people in the southern kingdom. And through the prophet Jeremiah, he is asking them a question. What wrong did your ancestors find in me, or you find in me, that you go after worthless things and become worthless yourselves? The priests do not ask, "Where is the Lord?" The rulers do not follow the law, they transgress it. The prophets prophesy by Baal. And what do you get from it? Emptiness. Something worthless. Remember, I brought you out of the land of Egypt. That is the reading also for the responsive reading from Psalms. I brought you out of the land of Egypt, where you were under oppression, and I brought you to a land flowing with milk and honey. A land overflowing with abundance, with goodness, love. And I warned you, when you experience this abundance, do not forget God. Keep the covenant. The northern kingdom went miserably away from God, and his covenant, and they went into exile in 722 BC. And Judah did not learn a lesson. Judah was spared. And then in 606, 596, 586, Nebuchadnezzar comes and takes them away to Babylon. And they also become once again enslaved. The northern tribes were dispersed and they went all over the world because that was the Assyrian policy, so that they will never regroup again. But they lived in Babylon. They were warned, but they forgot their God. They forgot the covenant. They forgot the ethical principles by which they were supposed to live. And Jeremiah says their community is like a broken cistern that is not able to contain the living waters that God gives. It's not that God is not giving, but the community is not able to receive and sustain it. Yeah, individuals make up society, and society forms individuals, shapes them, socializes them, and culturalizes them. And God and His Word transforms people. And a community and the cistern is strong to receive and retain the blessings of God only if the values and the ethical action that proceeds from those values are in place. In the 19th century, going into the 20th century, we had a German scholar by the name of Max Weber. His doctoral thesis was on the spirit of capitalism and Protestant ethic, or Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism. And he argued that it is great values that gave rise to the great institutions of Western Europe. He basically overturned Karl Marx, because Karl Marx said, change the structures and it will take care of the socioeconomic political problems. It was an atheistic position. But Max Weber, who started out wanting to do economics, realized that economics was a subfield of society. I must study society. So he changed his focus to study society. And he focused on Western Europe, to which he belonged, because for the first time in Western Europe they saw abundance of everything, unlike before. I wanted to understand what was the basis, and the answer that came was Protestant ethic. That gave rise to the spirit of capitalism. Capitalism as a vehicle to generate wealth, but this wealth they were guided in the use of this wealth by their principles, by their values, that 1/3 is to be kept for consumption of the families. 1/3 of the wealth has to be reinvested in people, reinvested in the business, and 1/3 is to be given away for the common good. Hospitals, roads, parks, schools. And in all this mix, they were to give 10% or more to the work of the Lord, God's mission in the world. So it was a community overflowing with goodness, grace, love, mercy. And Dr. Manmohan Singh, while he was alive, he had warned that unless we take care of these fundamental things called ethics, our civil society, a strong legal system, the economics of this country is in danger. He was echoing Weberian understanding. But this Weberian understanding is already present in the text that we are reading. The image that Jeremiah uses and says that leaking cisterns cannot hold living water. Leaking cisterns cannot hold living water. As we focus on our own community, we need to give thought to this. But let me move on and then come back to this. The passage in Hebrews talks about the overflow of grace demonstrated in the way the people were expected to practice hospitality, solidarity with prisoners, solidarity with those who are tortured, marriage faithfulness, very important, because if we are not faithful, we won't be faithful in our business dealings. Not faithful in business dealings, word will get around, cannot be trusted. And you start losing business. That's what Weber understood. Honesty builds trust. And in those days, the pastor gave the letter, not the banker. You can do business with this member of my church. He is trustworthy. She is trustworthy. Those were the days of family businesses. Then it became partnerships, private limited, and then public limited. Generosity and praise are communal ethics that keep the cistern from leaking. Worship is sustained by a community that lives out God's grace in public, not just in private devotion. The banquet of overflowing love is seen in the parable that Jesus shared, that when you go for a wedding, do not look for the prominent seat. Sit anywhere else. Let the host come and say, please come forward and take this seat. If you take the prominent seat, the host may come and say, please get up. This seat is meant for someone else. This is still seen today. When we go for functions, some people will go and occupy prominent seats, and the host comes and says, please get up, this seat is meant for the chief guest and his people or her people. We have to practice humility, that he would increase and we would decrease. We always seek God's glory in everything that we do. And never look for prominence. And moreover, in our invitation list, we not only invite people who will add status to our family or us as individuals, but we invite people who probably are of no value, no significance in the sight of the world. We exercise generosity, hearty welcome, hospitality. In that, God's love is seen. There was one Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Frickberg. She was the daughter of a real estate magnate. She came to the Lord. Her father came to the Lord. Then other members of the family. She felt called to the ministry. She was also in the original troupe of Jesus Christ Superstar that went around America. She was an adjunct professor when I went for my studies in 1993-94. I took a course with her and got to know her a little bit. And I heard from others that she was one of the 1,000 shining lights under one of the presidents who had this scheme. I've forgotten who it was. What did she do that caught the attention of the president and his team that selected 1,000 people who were shining lights in America? She opened her house, remember, daughter of a real estate magnate. Opened her home, she lived alone, to people from the street, young people. Brought them in, black, white, so on and so forth. She grew up in privilege. And you know that those who are not part of the church and who grow up in privilege and belong to the white community, you can expect racism. She had overcome her racial prejudice because there were Latinos, there were blacks, and a mix of these young people from the streets on drugs, dangerous. But don't forget, she was 6 feet plus, strong. And she moved around with a certain confidence. She made 3 visits to our campus in 1995 up to 1997, 6 and then 7, when we were working on the curriculum project. But that aside, the point is, here was someone touched by God, practicing Christian ethics, opened her home in radical discipleship, having been in the original cast of Jesus Christ Superstar. And that was a powerful musical. We had it staged in Jabalpur in the 70s by the Leonard Theological College under the direction of Dr. T.P. Townsend. So I saw it. It was covered by the newspaper. She made an impact that caught the attention of people in the White House to select her as one of the 1,000 lights. She didn't boast about it. Someone told me, "Do you know this about Elizabeth?" She was called Beth. We need to build cisterns, build communities that do not leak. For that to happen, we need to keep our focus on our values and ethics. Pay attention to small details, and the rest will take care of itself. It's not easy, but it is doable. Let us encourage one another in our walk with God, in our striving to build communities, institutions, which is a different kind of a community, which is not voluntary, but the church is voluntary. May God bless us as we prepare ourselves to partake of the Lord's Supper. For in Him we find our strength to live the life that He calls us to live.